So I like to start with a quick show of hands. Who of you has ever Googled a weird medical concern? No reason to feel guilty, because I think we all do it. But Dr. Google and not so trustworthy sources of information aside, research actually tells us that when we're well informed, we make better healthcare choices. So it does make a lot of sense to gather all the available information we can get before we make a big decision, such as which cancer treatment should I pursue? And that is especially important nowadays, because our healthcare system has shifted away from a doctor knows best model, where your doctor would just tell you what to do, to a shared decision-making model, where your doctor will discuss different options with you, you look at the information, and then you have to make up your own mind which option works best for your needs and preferences. But that is actually problematic, because the people who are most likely to be affected by healthcare problems, older adults, these are the people who are least likely to make informed decisions. In fact, psychological research from the past 30 years tell us that information seeking decreases with age, and that older adults don't look at as many pieces of information as younger adults should do. And that puts them at risk for making suboptimal healthcare choices. And that's where I come in. So I work in a lab where we have a specific decision-making theory that distinguishes between two different types of information you can use to make a decision. So on the one hand, there is quantitative or numeric information. So imagine you call your doctor to make an appointment, and they tell you you have to wait 1 day for an appointment. That would be an example of numeric information. But you could actually communicate something really similar without using numbers, but using a qualitative description. So the same doctor could have also said, you have to wait a very short time for an appointment. And our research tells us that older adults prefer to rely on qualitative information when they make decisions. So knowing that, I went ahead and I looked at the past 30 years of research. I tried to categorize studies that go back as far as 1990 according to whether they used numbers, qualitative descriptions, or a mix of the two in their studies. I was interested in seeing, is there one type of study that is more likely to say that information seeking decreases with age? And there is. I actually found that studies that only use numbers are more likely to say older adults don't look up as many pieces of information. So knowing that, I devised my own experiment. I tasked 70 younger and 70 older adults to look up as many pieces of information as they wanted before making a decision. What I found is that it didn't make a difference for younger adults, but it did make a difference for older adults if the information was numeric or qualitative. In fact, I found that older adults look at 45% more pieces of information if what I give to them is qualitative, even though I took steps to make sure both types of information were equally informative. So it wasn't about that. Okay, so how does that relate to the topic of today's talk, expansion? I very literally try to expand the amount of information older adults look at before they make a decision by catering to their preferences. And I did find that qualitative information seems to facilitate information seeking and therefore maybe informed decision making. What can we learn about healthcare from that? Well, patients might benefit from receiving qualitative information. So don't just give them numbers. Don't just say, the risk of dying from cancer is 5%. Tell them what it means. Is that risk low or high? Should you worry or should you not? Research-wise, my results make me wonder if the past 30 years on information seeking have actually gotten it somewhat wrong. It seems like studies that have only used numbers to study this, they might have put older adults at a systematic disadvantage because they didn't consider if that information is actually attractive to older adults. But if we take a step back and look at the big picture, I think results like mine can help us expand how we think about aging in general. So if we only listen to popular opinion, it's so easy to conclude that with age, we're like less curious, less good at making decisions, and just less, cognitively able overall. But I want to invite you to revisit that stance. So using the example of information seeking, I told you that age differences we find again and again might actually be due to changes in preference rather than the ability to seek information. And, by seeing that, we see that, yes, older adults are different from younger adults cognitively, but that doesn't make them cognitively defective. And that's what I would like you to take away from this talk. Thank you.